I'd like to call this meeting of the Morgan County Planning Commission to order. It's Thursday, August 22nd, 2024. I've asked Member Bishop to offer an opening prayer, and after that, if you'd all rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, thank you very much for the opportunity to live in this gorgeous valley. Give us the wisdom and strength as a planning commission to maintain the beauty of the county and while paving a way for development. In the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'd like to welcome the Planning Commission. This is the first time we've had 7 members in a long time, so welcome. We'd like to welcome Member Murray, Blaine Murray. This is his first time tonight on the Planning Commission, so welcome. Okay, next item is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Member Little.
I'll second it. I can second it, whoever.
I have a second by Member Bishop. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Declaration of conflicts of interest with any item, the only item on the agenda tonight. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to public comment. This item on the agenda is not a public hearing, not a legislative item, so if you wish to speak on this item, now will be the time for you to come forward and speak, or you can speak to the Planning Commission on any other matter of interest that you may have. So we invite you to come forward to the lectern now and state your name if you do wish to make a comment. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to agenda. This is a discussion decision on Golden West Credit Union Rome Commercial Site Plan.
Thank you. This is application number 24.013, Golden West Credit Union, located within the Rome Commercial Site area, off of Old Highway Road, at the northeast corner of 5000 West and Old Highway Road. Staff has reviewed the application. There are a couple issues that we'll kind of talk about a little bit, but for the most part, it complies with our code. They've met the photometrics, they've met the landscaping, they've met the design, except for the roof. Since the roof is going to be all metal, the Planning Commission has the approval authority of whether to approve the metal or not. The applicant is responsible for approving that it is an architectural detail and of high quality metal. So I will leave that for them to make their argument. One of the main issues is the secondary access in. The secondary access, if I remember correctly, is within, it is less than 150 feet. I believe it's like 141 feet, which is fairly close. The county engineer has had issues with that from the very beginning. Golden West Credit Union has been adamant that they want that, and so they're proposing a pork chop. I've asked the county engineer to speak to that. John Biergard is in the audience tonight. Mark Miller couldn't be here, so John Biergard is going to speak on behalf of Mark Miller, since they are both Wasatch Civil, and then he can talk about a little bit of what Mark Miller has issues with. As from a planning standpoint, the pork chop doesn't always work as designed. People turn in, they turn out. It's used for all traffic movements if people feel like it's free to do that, even though it may be designed not for in and out traffic. So I'll let the county engineer talk a little bit about that. As far as the other design criteria, staff has reviewed it. Everything else, they've complied with our code with parking, landscaping, and the lighting, as I said. So on a whole, staff is recommending approval of the site plan, but it is incumbent upon the applicant to prove to the planning commission that what they're proposing for their roof meets the is architectural detail and is a high quality metal, and then I'll turn it over to the county engineer now.
Yeah, I'm here representing Mark Miller. I've read his memo and reviewed his issues and discussed it with him. I just want to see if I can provide a little bit of context to what he said there. I believe the memo deals with whether or not this is safe. And as I discussed it with Mark, we maybe want to back off from the word safe. We, as engineers, we design traffic like intersections, driveways that are functional. They're never completely safe, and so no engineers would ever really willing to say that his design is safe, but it's functional. We want to minimize conflicts between drivers and pedestrians and prevent traffic movements that could result in accidents. So that's the context that the memo was written. And I did a little bit more research, and UDOT does allow these types of one-way right turn only into a business at an angle less than 90 degrees. Their chosen angle is 60 degrees. This is about 45. The examples that the traffic engineer gave us, that he described as functional for a Maverick in Caseville, that angle is about a little more than 30 degrees. So you can see a wide variation in the potential designs, and it's just to address UDOT's design has tended to reduce the speed so that they don't have less chance of a pedestrian getting hit. The shallower angle, the 35, is to discourage people from using it as an exit or as a left turn in instead of a right turn in. So those are the issues. And with lack of a clear standard on that, that's why Mark's saying that he can't recommend it, but he can't make the decision to approve it or not. I will say that as I've looked at it, in these types of situations, we typically defer to the design engineer who has responsibility for the design. So that's, again, I understand that we're not making a clear recommendation and not contradicting Mark, but that's the context that he brought that memo in.
Any questions?
Yes, could you pull up the site plan so we can take a look at that? On the, I understand
Can you
go
pull
back.
your
I'll
mic a
post
little
the site
closer
plan.
and speak into it?
Could we pull up the site plan, please? Thank you. I understand we're discussing the pork chop on Highway 167, but what about on this other road where you've got this ingress egress right near the road? Is that 5000 West Street?
That is the issue right there.
So this ingress egress on 5000 is what was originally planned for the ingress egress at their site. It's this one down here that they have asked for, and it's fairly close to this intersection. So that's the main issue.
No, I understand that. I say, is there any concern with that one that's close to 500 up there on?
No, there's no concern. In fact, Rome, as part of the subdivision, when they went through the plating process a year ago, were to construct that for Golden West Credit Union.
Okay. To me, if somebody's coming down 5000 West and makes a left into there and somebody's pulling out and going to make a left, that to me is just as dangerous as what's happening on the old highway.
I disagree. And the reason I disagree is because 5000 West has a lower level of traffic than Old Highway Road. It is, it's a right in, and it's more than 150 feet away from the intersection. It's a collector road, not an arterial, whereas the pork chop can be used in certain times, because I've done it on accident at other developments, can be used as an out.
No, I understand.
So-
I understand the arguments, because to me, this one causes concern as well because of its location. The other-
That would be, the one off 5,000 would be a typical driveway. And again, there's no
No.
safety guarantees on any intersection.
And then, second question on that is did you look at putting a median in on the old highway so that you couldn't do a left-hand turn if you were eastbound?
I don't know if that was looked at.
No, I don't think we put in a median right now.
I think the issue is that we anticipate that there would be a future signal intersection at that point, and then at that point, those decisions would be made.
Okay. Thank you.
So the pork chop is 151 feet from the intersection. Is that what you're saying, Josh? 141,
Yeah, it's 141.
And
It's
we-
less than 150.
and 150 is the standard.
In other places that I've worked, 150 is the standard or more, depending
Right.
on the classification of the road.
Would they be able, if they reconfigured that, could they shift it over and meet that standard?
I talked to them about that when they first submitted their application. That would push that entrance onto the adjacent lot, and that's not what they wanted to do.
Do we know, could we accomplish this with some cross accesses between the two parcels?
They already have cross-access because the parcels were subdivided together.
But they're not approving it that way, right?
No, it shows, if you look at the north side, there's
Okay,
two
so
cross-access.
coming up and over then?
Uh-huh.
Right.
So this is their lot.
To the east, though, there's no,
There is no cross to the east.
do you know what's planned for that? Is it a commercial development?
It was approved for commercial uses, including professional office, retail, possible restaurants.
With just the one axis up top on 5,000 west, would that satisfy the circulation, off-site and on-site circulation?
Well, that's how it was designed. So when the second lot develops, there's more likely going to be another entrance onto Old Highway Road on that property. Let me see if I can bring up a picture of it. It's these two lots right here. So the Golden West Credit Union here is here. The driveway is approximately right up here. And then they're proposing a pork chop there.
Right.
There's probably going to be an entrance straight across from Lee's at this location to tee that up. And so that distance is obviously more than 150 feet, but you know, that's like 3 entrances within 300.
Right. And that's county road, correct?
This side is county road. Everything west of
West
this
is
point
state.
is state.
Is all of, on the north side, all of that improvement is on their side?
No, I
road,
think some
are
of
they
the driveway,
splitting?
some of the driveway is on the second lot, if I remember correctly.
Could they not do the same thing at the pork chop?
I mean, that'd be up to them to talk to the owners of this lot. They are asking for the pork chop, and tonight you'll need to make a recommendation one way or the other to the county commission, and then the county commission will make that decision.
Could they accomplish the same thing without it being a pork chop? Be a perpendicular intersection?
No, we don't want, if anything is approved, the pork
Pork
chop
chop's
is,
preferred.
yeah, because that's gonna limit the, well, it should limit the ingress egress.
Right. Can eastbound traffic turn left there now?
Well, there's nothing to turn left into.
But once it gets improved, would they be able to turn left?
Well, with
Is
the
it,
pork,
is it restricted?
well, the pork chop should restrict, but that hasn't stopped people from doing stuff.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the engineer or staff?
The the entrance into the Maverick you're talking about or referring to in this instance is the one off 200 North in Kaysville. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, just on the west side of the freeway. Okay, okay. And I've been across that one several times and seen there. Is there any way we can make a recommendation lessening the angle, creating more of an angle pull-in? It looks like it potentially would minus one parking spot, but in doing so eliminate the ability for a left-hand turn without flipping all the way through through traffic.
Any other questions for staff before we move to the applicant? Okay, the applicant, could please come forward. Could you please state your name for the record?
Yes. Hi, my name is Eric Malmberg. I'm with AWA Engineering. I'm the engineer of record on this project, and I'll be speaking for Golden West Credit Union tonight. Thanks for having us. I'd like to pass out, I have a hard copy here that I wanted to pass out with you guys. I've got a copy for all 9 or 10 of you if I could. Could I pass this out?
Sure.
You can just pass it down.
If you have any extras, let me know. I'll pass them back to my client. First off, I'd like to clarify that this is really the terminology for this type of an ingress, right turn ingress, is not a pork chop. A pork chop allows for a triangular shaped island, which is referred to as the pork chop, that allows a right turn in, but it also allows for a left turn out, a left turn only out. So if you envision, can I go over here and point?
It's a touch screen, so be careful.
Can you grab that mic
Yeah.
just from there so that you
Absolutely.
can? Okay, perfect.
All right. If you can envision with me, right now we have a right turn only, a right turn ingress into the property from Old Highway Road. If we were to have an out option, an egress point from this driveway, it would create an island that would be kind of a triangular shape. Does that make sense? And you would be able to turn out and only turn right. It would be a forced right hand, a right turn. So that is where they get the terminology, and it's not engineering lingo, it's just a nickname for a pork chop because it looks like a pork chop, the triangular shape. So this is really not considered a pork chop. This is a right turn ingress only. I wanted to point your attention to the last page of the handout that I handed you guys. And what I did here is I took our site, our proposed site for the Golden West Credit Union, and I overlaid it on top of the Kaysville aerial photograph. And you can see that our site, it's fairly close, and it's going to be, when the intersection is completed out there on Old Highway Road, it's going to be very close to the layout and the site geometry of the Maverick in Kaysville. On the aerial photograph, you can see the right turn ingress only off of 200 North in Kaysville into the Maverick store. And overlaid on top of that in black is our site. And you can kind of see the angle of trajectory, I guess, or the angle of approach off of Old Highway Road versus the alignment of 200 West if Old Highway Road were laid right on top of 200 West. The angle for the Kaysville is 33 degrees, and the angle from the proposed Golden West is 43 degrees. I measured that, but I didn't show it on here. So there's about a 10-degree differential between those. But as you can see, they're both right turn ingress only driveways. What we are proposing to do is to have pavement message paint that says "Do not enter." It's narrower, so it also discourages egress drivers driving away from the out of the credit union, and then thank you. And I also wanted to point out that we did move the driveway farther to the east, so that there is now 150 feet between the lip of the ingress driveway and the lip of the 5000 West. We were at 140 something feet, and then we moved. Could I again? So initially, when we started out, we took a measurement from the lip of this 5000 West. If you can you all see that? This is the lip. Actually, pull it up here a little bit, will you, Josh? Thanks. That's perfect right there. So from the lip of this street over to the lip of this intersection right there, or sorry, not the intersection, but the lip of the access. Oh, it was me. I'm sorry, Josh. I guess, yeah, sorry about that. So yes, from this lip over to that lip right there is 150 feet, give or take a foot or two, because we moved the driveway farther to the east, knowing that 150 is the rule of thumb in most other jurisdictions of spacing between a driveway and an intersection. So with that, we have safety in mind at all times. We, as engineers, we provide a standard of care. We won't ever write a letter or indicate that something is safe, because it just opens up, it's a field day for attorneys to go in and say, you said it was safe, and now we've had a fender bender, and everything's on you now. So we did provide on that handout a letter indicating that based on the standard of care, our engineering best practices, all of our geometry, we've done everything we can to mitigate the I guess the risk of people turning left, exiting out of the do not enter driveway, and making a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn onto Old Highway Road. And we've also just made that a sharp, or not a sharp, but it's a dedicated right-hand turn. So another thing that we need to take into account is people will learn how this works with time. They'll learn that I can't make a left-hand turn eastbound off of Old Highway Road. They will learn how the geometry is laid out and how they can get in and out of the credit union. So with that, I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Why did you feel this access was necessary off Old Highway?
So let me read this part of the traffic study because I think it puts it really well. Sorry. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. Let me pull it up here. As soon as I find it, I'll read it. But it's basically to accommodate the ease of access for the Golden West Credit Union members and allow for smooth traffic flow around the site. And if you zoom out just a little bit again. I'll speak loudly if you guys can hear me okay.
Recording that we can't hear unless you're in the mic. We just want you to get your exercise.
Thank you very much. You're making me work for it. That's good. A lot of the credit unions, it's difficult, and I'll probably get the Golden West folks to back me up on this, and if they want to provide some input. But it's really difficult. I won't say it's very difficult. It's just a matter of convenience. We want the customer or the members to be able to drive in and get to where they're going as quickly and as easily as possible, but also facilitate a safe access and flow around the site. Most of the credit union members that will be visiting this branch live to the east, and so they're going to be coming westbound on Old Highway Road to visit the credit union. And now, if this access were to be removed, they would have to drive down around toward the back of the building, drive down here, around, and through the drive-through. And it's just, it's quite a bit of just additional movements, just traffic flow that's, it can be inconvenient for people. And, you know, standing here where it's hard for me to sell that that's an inconvenience, but to many people it is. And I don't know if Golden West can stand up and talk about that as well, but we're just trying to make it as convenient as possible for our members. Based on the competitive nature of the industry, a site that is more accessible and inviting is an important factor in keeping a site viable for members over the long term. So that was the part of the traffic study that I wanted to just mention. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Sessions?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for applicant?
I have two. Has the applicant approached Rome to allow them to put the ingress on the adjacent parcel?
We have talked to Rome, the developer, but they haven't indicated, and at the time when we did talk to them, they didn't know what was going to be going in next door, adjacent to us.
My thought is if you improved the ingress and you could even then have an egress in there on that adjacent parcel, it would be a benefit to the future
Yes.
occupant, and then you could split off and go left or right once you get in to go to. So to me, that would be a valuable.
Yes. Sorry to interrupt you. One of the things that was taken into consideration was at a future time, if this develops into something that would have a shared access, we could accommodate a break in the curb, and we could allow for vehicles to enter and then turn right into that adjacent property.
Right, but my point is, wouldn't it make more sense to allow them to go left or right? And
From
have
there?
And then have an ingress egress off of that? And did,
I would say it would probably be good, but again, you're introducing a left-hand turn movement, and that's I agree with the county engineer on that. A left turn out of the site onto Old Highway Road there, I wouldn't recommend that.
but you're past 150 feet at that point, so is that not okay?
True, we are.
So,
Yes.
so that solves both problems to me. Then the second question I have for the applicant is, how many daily customers do you anticipate at this site? What are we talking about?
That is in the traffic study, and I don't have it off the top of my head, but let me pull it up here. Just a second here. Sorry, I don't have this at the top of my head. So the trip generation study, we anticipated land use trip rate 9.9, 29 total trips in the morning and 62 total trips in the afternoon. So during a 1 hour period for the afternoon peak hour, they anticipate up to 62 total trips. Now that's not to say that all 62 of those folks are turning in off of Old Highway Road. The percentage that comes in off of Old Highway Road would be site generated back. I believe it'd be about 16 trips. 16 of those vehicles would be generated coming off of Old Highway Road.
Sixteen of the 62.
Sorry, hold on.
Because you said most of it's
Yes,
coming east.
just a second. Trip distribution is 62% inbound and 38% outbound for the AM peak, which yields 45 trips in and 28 trips out. I will need to get back with you on that. I can look it up in the report, but it's
I would assume the gentleman behind you would have some idea on just a typical Golden West Credit Union, how many visitors do you get a day?
If you can come to the mic, just so we have it for the recording, thanks.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Darren Godfrey with Golden West Credit Union. I wish I knew that information. I did provide that information when they did the traffic survey because we based it off of some of the other locations like Eden that we could reasonably estimate. But honestly, I don't have that off the top of my head. I'd have to look at the report as well. Sorry about that.
It's okay. The other thing too, the engineer made a comment that it's all gonna, or primarily gonna be westbound traffic. There's potential development of Nine Springs up off of Trappers, which would potentially significantly increase your eastbound traffic as well.
Yeah. Currently, when we were talking about that, we looked at our demography where our members are residing based on where they would go, and that's where most of them will be coming from currently. But you're right, we're hoping that we could capture some of those
Growth.
others, of course. That's why we want to build this where it's at.
Thank you.
Any more questions for the applicant regarding this access? Because now we're going to have to also talk about the use of metal on the building. So any more questions about this access?
Josh? The engineer said that they'd pushed that ingress only to the east more to where they're now 150 feet.
I was looking at the drawing, and it says 146. I just need some clarification on the measurement on it. If you want to look over there where my mouse is. Oops. The heck is it doing? 146 right there.
That 146 is the bearing distance for the property line. That has to do with the property line distance from that corner over to
Okay. It's just the distance between those is not labeled, so.
I had sent earlier when we had the driveway was farther to the west.
Yeah.
There was a 142, I think it was, or 147. It was close, but then we moved the driveway 10 more feet farther to the east.
Okay, I missed that. I apologize.
Sure.
Does that resolve?
But if you look at
Concerns.
that's 146, and that is the distance from that corner right there where his mouse is over to the point of curvature on the property line, which is
Thanks.
You can take that mic off as well. That one comes out.
150 feet or more is from this lip. Oh my gosh, sorry.
Engineers.
It's from this lip here over to this lip right there. And it's more than 150 feet.
To answer Commissioner Murray's question, I'd have to ask the engineer if the 150 would solve. I'm not an engineer. I go by the county engineers. So.
Thank you.
It resolves part of the issue. Traffic queue lengths and backing up if there's a light. Preventing the left turns, it has a little impact on that, but that's kind of a separate issue on that road. No matter where that was, we probably wouldn't want a left turn that close to even at a further distance than 150 feet. But backing, the traffic queuing for the right turn and at a light, it does resolve that.
Would you be supportive of a true pork chop if it was over the 150 instead of just doing a right in?
Sorry, John. You got to use the mic.
I would rather see it limited to a right turn in, right turn out, even if it's more than 150 feet from the intersection.
And
But
I
there's a
agree
right
with
turn
that.
out, so that's what I was asking. The pork chop would require a right turn out and a right
Right.
turn in, so
We-
you
we
would be
don't-
supportive or not supportive?
I would. I just don't want to see left turns like that close to those potentially signalized intersections.
And I agree with that as well.
Would you recommend a pork chop if that was, be okay with it? Recommend approval?
I would refer that decision to the engineer that has the certification stamp.
The liability.
Yeah, the liability insurance. Yeah, not me.
The marketability question or convenience, I mean, if you think about a gas station on corners, there's typically 4 on all 4 corners of an intersection because it makes ease. So I totally get why you want it, and that's why I'm trying to support you guys to have an ingress, egress there. I don't know if you could talk about shifting it over with Rome. That would sure help you out.
That seems to be that would be my preference, where we're going to limit and we're going to push it much further away from the intersection. And then we have some cross traffic and circulation.
Yeah, so tonight, you're going to be making a recommendation to the county commission. It'll give them a couple weeks to get further answers to be able to present that to the county commission. So my recommendation would be to build your recommendation with those findings to push it onto the county commission tonight. That would be that's my recommendation.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question for the engineer, though. In allowing for a left-hand turn out of that, or ingress, egress in that area, would that not cause more congestion where there's potential for a light on 5000 West there, and for a potential left-hand turn into it? Are we not setting ourselves up for a potential issue that way? And additional?
But he's saying further down. He's saying like on this wall.
However, but if you've got a light on 5000 West, traffic backs up, and now you're waiting for a potential for a left-hand turn across traffic there with the light.
I would rather not see any left-hand turns. If we have, the pork chop would allow right in, right out. So only. I mean, that's
Typically,
not
how
the
many feet is a pork chop?
I think they look at all those. They look at the potential backup lengths for the traffic coming into that, and those issues. UDOT is always trying to prevent left turns into businesses. That's their.
I see what you're
And
saying.
with this
Both right-hand
situation,
turns. Seems like we added more congestion to an area
right.
there rather than just the simple right-hand turn into a business. Limits the amount of congestion in that travel lane. If we're talking about doing more right-hand turns coming out, we have more turns coming in and out of a congested area of a business, right?
Then you have a street down here, you have to turn, so no matter what, right intersection.
Yeah. Josh just pointed out, just a point of clarification, the left turns would be allowed on 5000, and that's why we don't want turns close to that. It would be available there. So we try to limit those, and I don't have a specific length on that. We could research it, but it probably takes a traffic study to evaluate that. So.
Any more questions regarding this access?
The suggestion by the planner, Josh, was that we would approve the design as it's proposed now, and then move forward with a possibility of a right in and a right out. Is that what I understood?
No, so the planning commission is a recommendation body only for the right in, right out, and for the overall site plan. So their recommendation would be for, since you've met all the other, it can't be denied because it's an administrative item, and you've checked the boxes for landscaping, lighting, building design, for the most part, until they approve the roof. And so the recommendation should be in a recommendation of approval, but they're gonna have to put findings of one way or the other regarding that secondary access. So, but it's a recommendation.
Secondary access out.
No, the access in. Your request.
Okay.
Between now and the county commission meeting, if you want to change and approach something else, then you can bring that forward at the county commission meeting,
Okay.
and we can discuss other options or things like that. But tonight, it's strictly just a recommendation.
Got it.
And so they'll provide that recommendation, then we'll get you on the next available county commission meeting. And I can talk to you about that date.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is going to be in regard to the metal used on the roof.
So we're passing out a packet. I'm Corey Adams, by the way, representing Golden West regarding their standing seam roof proposal. So in this packet, the first couple of pages are going to be a depiction of what this site's going to look like from the eye level. To give you an idea of what you're seeing, for the most part, you're seeing the stone veneer. Don't really. But if we can get to page 9, I believe, or 6, we have some examples of the standing roof seam system throughout our county. First one is being the Morgan County Library that we have. Just wanted to bring this up as you look at the architectural eye, the curb appeal to that, it enhances the building. That's what these standing seam roofs do, is they enhance the look of the building. So it gives it that curb appeal. Secondary, though, is the quality of the material. This is a high-grade metal material. It's used in these applications quite extensively, as we've seen in other neighboring counties, but also in our county, particularly in that area. Page 9, there's a picture of the recently constructed Lee's Market that has that roof system on it. You'll see it on the front lean-to part there. And referring back to the building material of this metal is a high-grade metal. So typically you'll see a lot of the PBR panels throughout the county on barns. We see them a lot on barns, and we see them a lot on shops. This standing room system has hidden fasteners, so you're not seeing any exposed fasteners to it. So it's a really sleek look, but it also has a great value to it as being able to carry a higher snow load. It's also better for wind, and there are some advantages to it for fire resistant as well, compared to some of the traditional roofings that you'll see as a TPO roof or a single asphalt-based roof. And so our proposal is to go forward with the standing seam roof based on those two qualities that we have, a higher grade material, but also a better curb appeal, and very cohesive to what other neighboring businesses are doing down in that area. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, any questions for the applicant regarding?
I love the metal roof. I'm not anti-metal roofs. I struggle with the color. I think it's going to stand out if you've driven past that area. I understand that's part of your branding, but I think Whole Foods is a great example. Their Whole Foods in Salt Lake looks very different than Park City.
Yep.
So that's my one recommendation. I'm pro metal roof for all the reasons you stated. I do think they have a great architectural appeal and understand the durability with the snow load, especially this not being a crazy steep roof, right? And snow coming off. So I think you've hit a lot of the criteria there. That's just a personal being, just a design element. So
I appreciate that.
struggle with the color. If it were if it blended in better with the landscape,
Okay.
I would be all over it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you know what gauge it's going to be?
I believe it's going to be a 26 gauge material. 24, so it's even going to be a more durable metal roof. Great question.
Okay. No more questions? Okay. Thank you, Corey.
Okay, thanks guys, appreciate it. I appreciate your guys' time, especially on a Thursday night when Morgan's playing Skyview. It's cool.
Okay, discussion among the planning commission. Do you want to address the access first? And what recommendation? We can recommend approval as designed. We can not recommend approval of the access as designed or recommend something else. The pork chop.
Suggest.
Recommend, yeah, we recommend.
I recommend the original, personally. I don't think having 16 more customers, having an easier way in, outweighs that if someone were to try to take a left turn or the potential traffic hazards just to take another right and a right. But that's my humble opinion. So I recommend not approving the new change.
You recommend them not approving the approved change?
To keep it coming off of 500 West rather than off of Old Highway. That's my recommendation, as originally plotted.
Okay.
Because you can go right and left out of there.
So you're suggesting we eliminate that ingress off of Old Highway Road?
That's my personal recommendation. You can disagree. Just based off numbers solely and it being so close to an intersection and recognizing how fast the county is growing. That's my personal opinion.
Can I clarify the 16 customers? Based on the traffic study, they measure the number of trips per peak hours. Sometimes they do it per the peak hours in the morning and peak hours in the evening, which is typically from, and correct me if I'm wrong, 6 to 9 in the morning and 3 to 7 at night. Those peak hours generate so many traffic trips. And the number of trips generated is not just solely in, it's typically split in some percentage in and out. And so, for instance, if you're in a subdivision of 100 lots, they're generating 1,000 trips in those peak hours. Right? Those 1,000 trips, though, is not 1,000 trips to the subdivision. It's typically 500 to, 500 away. And it varies, actually, depending on if it's the peak hour in the morning, peak hour at night. So the 16 customers, it's not technically 16 customers that are going to be inconvenienced. Without that, it's 16 customers during those peak hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably several times that over the course of an entire day. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Just from my perspective as a business person, the ease of ingress and egress is very important for attracting businesses to our area. And while, I mean, commercial is really what drives tax revenues for the Morgan County, et cetera, so that to have more businesses be successful and do it in a safe manner, then I'm all for the additional ingress and if potential egress out of the site if it was down far enough and to a full pork chop. Your point about a blue roof, I think it's going to be a tough road to hoe to get Golden West change their marketing strategy, but to 6 one, half a dozen other to me. I like the metal roofs as well. But,
No, I think my point is not to hurt their traffic coming in, but if the recommendation is that on that map it was not drawn correctly, so I think Josh needs a new map that shows that exact length, right? He was saying it was 146. You haven't seen the updated with the link. Is that correct? You don't have a copy of that?
We probably do have a copy. I just didn't notice that had increased. I saw the 146.
Okay.
I think the 146 on there isn't the distance.
Understood.
Okay.
Yeah. It just is not drawn out. So from how I interpreted, the engineer made it sound like there were concerns with that being an ingress there, even if it is at 150, but because of the angle as well, it being steeper. But maybe I misinterpret it, so that's just my opinion.
From my understanding, it's the left-hand turn off of Old Highway, right? That's what they want to avoid.
Yeah.
And so, to me, a pork chop in and out would still prevent people will do whatever they want to do, but minimize the left-hand turns off of eastbound traffic off of Old Highway. So I'd be okay with that from that perspective. And you don't even want the ingress egress at all.
Well, it's not egress off of Old
Ingress,
Highway right
right.
now. Yes. I just had some concerns, that's all.
No, it's good. Good concern.
I think a better solution is to share access between the two parcels.
And I agree with Blaine.
But we can't recommend that because that's not what's in front of us.
We can,
I don't know, I
Make a
think that we
suggestion.
could make a suggestion,
Yeah.
make a
Right.
recommendation.
that we do
but
not
it's
approve.
still my preferred, yeah.
That
I
we would
still
prefer.
So are we wanting to decline this as a
I'm not, I don't think I'm
board?
ready to approve or decline anything at this point, but I think for discussion, I think that's something that, as a general rule, right, I think anytime we can share access between parcels and commercial development, we're all better off, especially on a road like Old Highway Road.
We're gonna have to
For
recommend
clarity,
approval.
yeah, for clarity, you can't approve or deny
Tonight.
Right.
We
other
recommend.
other than the metal roof. That's the only thing that the planning commission tonight has authority to approve or deny. There needs to be a recommendation, one way or the other, going forward to county commission, so this continues through the process.
But I think also to clarify what Member Bishop was saying is you don't have to decline the entire thing. It could say we're declining the ingress that isn't associated with 5,000 and making a recommendation that if they could share access, we would support that. But then you could still approve the remainder, just with that condition that we're recommending that ingress from Old Highway be stricken. So it's not your denying or recommending denial for the entire portion. It would just be that
That access,
access.
and then recommend.
But overall, the recommendation is approval. It's moving forward. They may be able to take some of your suggestions to see if there might be something that would persuade the commission to allow another access off Old Highway if it was joint or, associated with another parcel.
Josh, we do not, there has to be a special approval or denial of standing seam material on a roof?
No, so the language in our code specifically says, and I just brought it up. One second. So it says building materials, and it talks about the majority of each facade and different materials that are outright permitted. And they're using the outright permitted materials on the exterior building walls. It looks like they've got stone, concrete, and a few other things. It says the planning commission may approve metal as an exterior building material. So that's talking about all the walls plus the roof. On a case-by-case basis, if an applicant can show that the type of metal is of a high grade and provides architectural quality to a building. And then number 4 is kind of where the issue is. It says vinyl siding and standing seam metal are prohibited for use as exterior wall building materials. So standing seam is outright prohibited to be used for the wall based on the text of our code. But the roof is not included in that, and so therefore that falls in line with the metal that the planning commission may approve.
Josh, is there anything in our code about color? Having it blend in with
No, there's not. I was just looking.
so if it was a
through
pink roof, we really couldn't tell them, no, we don't like pink, and so
Nope.
you've got to go out and change it.
Nope, we have no jurisdiction over color.
The motion is to approve the site plan, recommend approval or denial of the site plan. Plus, we approve the use of metal. You want that in 2 separate motions?
Yes,
Staff
the planning,
present.
the planning commission should make a motion to either approve or not approve the roof. And then make another motion, and within the motion to recommend approval of the site plan to include your, either your your recommendation for the ingress only, to either expand it or remove it, but that would be a recommendation, and the county commission will have to revisit that at their meeting.
You guys have, feel on the ingress egress aspect of things off of
Well,
Old Highway?
My opinion is it's going to go to the commission, and they're the ones who are going to make this decision. I think it's been kind of set up that way anyway. If I'm putting my 2 cents in, I kind of agree with the blue. I don't much care for it, but I don't have any problem with metal. I don't have any problem with standing seam. And for the record, I don't have any problem with stucco either. So. That goes back ways, but I don't have a problem with it. So.
Yeah, looking at this, I see what they're trying to accomplish with the entrances and the exits. I'm okay with how it's set up as is, metal the entrance. It'd be nice, yeah, if we could get them to I guess work with the neighbors, but they don't know what's going in there next, so it could be years down the road. I don't want to stop them from what they're doing now.
But if you think of typical subdivision developments, developers have to stub a road and they just leave a road sitting there for future development. So to me, it's very similar to that, as if Rome would allow them to just move it to the right as the paper's drawn.
I wouldn't call this a road, it's an entrance.
Entrance,
like
sure.
a driveway.
Sure. And then they could just leave unfinished off going to the right to whatever would be the development in that next parcel, and then they turn left into their property. Off of the in
That is not uncommon. Happens
Right.
frequently.
Yeah, so I don't see why Rome would prevent them from doing it, but they haven't approached it or it hasn't finalized for them. So.
We can recommend approval of the site plan and suggest that they look into. We can't require them for off-site, but we could suggest that they look into moving it further east in cooperation with Rome.
And in the meantime, could they not use the 500 West access, but they were building that second access to it's a true pork chop. You know what I'm saying? Would that not, because they already have an access, but just right now, if you wanted to move the access down.
Actually, mean, we recommend denial of the access until they could locate it
Somewhere
further
else. Okay.
east, but yeah.
Gotcha. I don't hear that strong. You guys want to approve it?
Vote your conscience.
Yep. Yeah, let's deal with the metal roof right now. We'll make that motion next. I think we all agree metal is okay. Standing seam. Member Maloney had concern with the blue color.
Could you get us to the recommendation page?
We don't have a motion for there was
We
no
don't?
motion written. Someone's gonna have to wing it.
I make a motion to recommend Golden West's request to use standing seam metal on their roof for both architectural benefit as well as, it sounds like, stability, other reasons.
So wouldn't that
Can
be
I
to
just
approve, not
clarify?
recommend?
Yeah, you don't need to recommend that.
You approve.
Yep.
You say
I approve it. I approve.
So what you would say is, I make a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve Golden West's request to use standing seam metal on the roof for their building.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Member Maloney, and it was a second by Member Murray. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimous. Now for the site plan with the access off Old Highway.
Still nothing on.
That I got you covered.
Yep.
About time. Madam Chair, I recommend approval of the County Commission for the GWCU Rome Commercial Site Plan, application 24.013, allowing for a proposed commercial development located approximately in the northeast corner of West Old Highway Road and North 5000 West in Mountain Green, which is identified by parcel number 00-0091-4785 and serial number 10-005-044-02-1-4-6, based on the findings with the conditions listed in the staff report dated August 22nd, 2024, with the additional recommendation that the applicant goes back to the Rome developer and request a common ingress egress that provides more than 150 feet of an ingress egress on the adjacent parcel.
Okay, I have a motion by Member Bishop. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Member Wilson. Any more discussion on that motion?
So I like the motion. That wouldn't by definition give them a second access, right? In other words, they keep their ingress only, as well as having another, if they were able to get an agreement, to have another access through the adjacent parcel.
Understood that?
No,
In
it
lieu
wouldn't be
of-
an additional, it would be just to
So it'll
shift
be
the one
replaced.
that the site plan has to move it to the
Okay.
east.
Okay, so it replaced that ingress with an access on the adjacent parcel.
Correct. That would be my recommendation, whether they can get it or not. But still, we're allowing them to have the ingress off of Old Highway from westbound traffic. Does that make sense?
That makes more understood. Okay, all in favor of that motion?
Just a second.
Oh, was it, oh.
I thought it was
okay,
second.
What?
Was it second?
Okay, yes.
I
Is there a
thought Steve
second?
did.
Just a second.
Steve.
Steve did, I thought, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Now on to business and staff questions.
I didn't have anything. Did we talk a little bit about doing training tonight, or would you rather wait?
I'm okay either way. I had a little bit, but we can save it for the following meeting too.
If you have a little bit tonight, maybe we can just tackle that.
Okay.
If you're okay with that.
Yeah, and I won't keep you long. I know that we don't want these meetings to go too long. But since we do have some new members and we have been meeting and talking through, I thought it would be a good thing to just talk about just some things that I've observed since I've been here. And one of the things, and we were kind of talking with Chance about it when he came in to meet with Josh and I, just the idea of representing the county as a commissioner. A lot of times people will attribute anything you do to the county, and I'm not saying that you can't go out and live your life, but if you are, just kind of keep that in mind, that people are going to impose your position into things that you say, and just be aware of what you're saying. I know for my office, I say just don't get on Facebook. You know, there's a lot of fun things that may happen there, and it might be fun to jump in the conversation, but at least from the county's perspective, we don't want to be involved there. If you are engaging that way, people will, if you are stating things, they may say that, oh, well, that's the planning commission or the county's position, and you might just do a small disclaimer to say, you know, this is my personal opinion on this issue, and then lay it out, right? Because you still have freedom of speech. I'm not wanting to stop that, but I do think for liability reasons and just for optics and things that go on in the county, it's a good rule of thumb to you know, maybe have someone else read it before you post it. I can't tell you how many emails I've written, and then I walk into Kim or Janet and I say, hey, read this and tell me to delete it. And I do, and it's great, right? I never send that email, but just keep that in mind. You'll want to have all county communications go through a county, your county email as well. So there is the GRAMA statute, which is the Government Record and Management Act, and for transparency, and we've talked a lot about open meetings, and we may do another brief overview of that, but the idea is everything is to be transparent, and all discussions are to be open to the public. So for example, because a quorum under open meetings is 4 or more, it's not technically a meeting if 3 of you were to chance meet or be in a meeting together. And that's okay. For example, if you're meeting with Josh or myself or just together to ask questions. But as far as deliberation, for the most part, among each other, and to, count your votes or get a feel for where everyone's at, you want to save that for the meeting. Because we don't want the optics or even the actuality of you coming up with decisions before you come to the meeting, because there may be more information that's presented and you want to have all of that done open to the public. I haven't seen any issues, but I think just as a good general rule of thumb, avoiding statements and behavior that create liability for the county is an important thing. When we get a new lawsuit that does take from county resources, whether we lose a lawsuit or win a lawsuit or have to pay any money or not, it is the time and the effort of those within the building that is funded by the taxpayer. And so, just as a part of protecting the taxpayer funds and making sure they're used appropriately, it's not a bad thing to just take a pause. We will be dealing with very passionate residents, applicants. There's going to be some high emotions. We have a big project that's coming forward that there will likely be very high emotions, and there's a lot of submissions that have already come in. And so just keep in mind, we don't want to engage in any defamatory statements or emails that are grammable, right, and are open to the public as well. They call it the ad hominem attack, like I'm attacking the person rather than the argument. I think it's good to have the lively discussion and to question the merits of what's being presented, but nothing towards an individual or an entity. Just keeping those things in mind, because once again, if someone is suing the county and we're going through that process, and if they do get something at the end that is coming from the residents, right, it's still the taxpayers. It's kind of that hidden tax where now we have to deal with that. I think the other thing too is when we're in a meeting, like in a court setting, they have what's called ex parte communications. And so if you have a judge, and let's say that I'm the prosecutor and I want to go talk to him about a case, I can't do that without the defense attorney being there. So it's something that keeps everyone open, right, once again. And if you're getting communications during the meeting relating to an issue and, information or how to vote or things like that, because you do have decision-making authority or recommending authority, I would just say don't pay attention to those texts and, don't engage in that, because it can dissuade from your autonomy to make those decisions. If I get a text and it's like, okay, how much longer is the meeting? I'll text my wife and say, oh, probably only 3 more hours, or, whatever it may be. But as far as engaging in the county business, you just want to avoid that as well. So that's all I had, unless you have questions for me. I think you guys are doing great, so. Yeah. No, I mean, you can get on Morgan Moms. It's fine. So
Separate issue, but kind of related to Nine Springs. Josh, do we know what the next step is with that?
We have another work session that'll be held on September 3rd to continue to go through the development agreement and the design criteria. We'll probably have several other work sessions joint with the county commission and maybe separate, depending on how the county commission wants to handle it going forward. I think they're under the impression that they want some additional meetings and they want to go through it, so it's going to take a little while. Yep, it's going to take a little while.
Thank you.
Yep.
The development agreement, the draft, is that in the document that we've got the link from the email? in the email?
No, the development agreement specifically has been reviewed by the attorney. The document that you received the link for contains all of their design proposals, the trail design. I think it also includes the traffic study that was done. It includes the list of uses, the conceptual quote-unquote development plan, which is kind of a bubble plan of where they want their densities, and a rough draft of where the main streets are going to go through and connect. It has a discussion of the trails, the architecture that they're proposing, and things like that. That's a really long document. So the development agreement, I don't remember how long that is, but the folder the file folder on my desk, it's like it's at least 400 or 500 pages long. So it is a lot of reading. I would highly recommend and implore you to read it and come prepared on September 3rd with questions and comments and your opinions of what's in there for clarification, things like that, because the developer will be here and the county commission is going to be here as well. So it'll be like a joint meeting.
So the development agreement is not ready for...
I can send that out. The commission asked me to send it to them as well. It's, I don't know if it's about 60 pages or so, so it's not as long.
Or weasel words.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe 80, but a lot of them are exhibits just outlining what would go in the development agreement. So I will send that out. I'll also send out the code reference to development agreements, so you're aware of what our code says about development agreements and how that negotiation should go and what they should provide in exchange for higher density and things like that. I would say the development agreement, I have gone back and forth with their attorney, but once again, it's not fully fleshed out yet. It's more of a skeleton of just the regular terms, but as far as what has been negotiated to justify the higher density, that has yet to be added.
Most of the document that contains the design criteria and the architecture of what they're proposing is in the link that we sent you.
Mm-hmm.
That really should be the bulk of your focus right now. The development agreement is really the language between the county attorney and their attorney to kind of formalize the agreement and adopt what's in the other book.
And then Josh, I was watching the commission meeting on YouTube on Tuesday, and I know.
All right.
Can you hear me?
I'm sorry.
Anyway, I know it was discussed a little bit, Nine Springs, in the meeting, and I think at the end.
I wasn't there at the end.
It was in the commissioner comments, just kind of a discussion of what are we expecting them to come prepared for, because Kate brought it up saying, oh, we didn't notice it because there wasn't a formal action to bring it back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
And
So
I think
it
one
did
of
come up.
And one of the commissioners, I think it was Commissioner McConnell, mentioned maybe we do want them to come back before, I don't know if it's going to be before this work session, but like actual action items? Or are we just having a work session? I guess my question, with everything already submitted as is, there's no changes.
It's just a work session. There are no additional changes. We're waiting for one of our consultants to get back with comments as well. I need to reach out to him.
And I think that there was a little bit of discussion among the commission saying we'd like them to take the feedback we had already given and implement that.
Yeah.
But Commissioner O'Connell said, well, why don't we give them better direction at the next point. And so if you do have directions or recommendations that you'd like to see, the next, the September 3rd meeting is a really good time to bring that up, to make those recommendations and suggestions so that they can take what is said, rework what they feel they need to rework, and then they can bring it back, and then you engage in that review and negotiation again. And the point that Chair Newton made is for both RSDs that have previously been approved in the county, Snow Basin and Wasatch Peaks Ranch, it was a relatively long process, and they had done maybe even more groundwork, I would say, than Nine Springs, having kind of a focus group before they started coming into the process. But even when they started coming before Commission and Planning Commission, I believe it was still almost a year of that process. So it may take some time, and maybe review multiple drafts and have a chance to weigh in.
My other question, because I'm new here, it's my understanding this is their third submission, Nine Springs, for a rezone. Is it possible, can you share, Josh, what the other two, the differences were in terms of density and things like that, and the first two that were denied?
Yeah, well, they weren't denied.
They weren't denied.
So the first submittal, staff takes time to review it. We prepared a response letter of things we'd like to see changed, things that we think that they missed, and they went back. They spent, I think it was 6 to 8 months updating it for the second submittal, and then we reviewed it again, asking them to add additional things. They missed some things that we talked about, stuff like that. So nothing has been denied, nothing's been approved. It's basically been staff providing them direction of what should be in there and what they need to address before they bring it to the county commission and the planning commission. We put them through 3 reviews. Typically, I'm a firm believer of one bite at the apple. You should have one good bite at the apple. If we miss something that's not public health, safety, welfare, then that's kind of on us. But this is their third submittal, and so I felt it was probably time they started getting the work sessions with commission and county commission.
And have they made those changes that staff requested from the first two?
Yep, as far as I can tell, they've made all the changes. Yeah.
Those are more related to design, engineering, planning, things of that nature. You asked earlier about density. Staff isn't recommending density because that's really up to the development agreement and the legislative body to finalize that. So there haven't been any discussions or changes made on that. It's just, okay, traffic-wise, how is this going to work?
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions? Business?
The only other thing that I have to say is if you want to go to those trainings, we really need you to come in. There is a deadline for when we get the break in cost. So the earlier we register you for it, the less the county has to pay. So please come in this week if you want to do one of the
That's
trainings.
for the APAs, the one that's,
On the 10th and the 11th of October. And you can do both days, or you can choose to do one or the other. It's really up to you. County will pay for that training, but I would really prefer to pay for it when there's a break in the cost.
So you just need us to come in and sign up?
Yeah, you need to come in, talk to Judy. She will get you registered. She just needs to know what day you want to go, and then we'll sign you up.
and there's also one, the Utah Land Institute, but we don't have the definite information on that yet.
That's correct. That'll be October 23rd and 24th, but there's no information for even signing up for that yet.
And I have one matter. Okay, our next meeting on September 12th, Josh is not going to be here. Jeremy right now is out on paternity leave.
Well, I most likely won't be here. We can play by ear. There are a couple items that are going to go to that day that that have been in the queue for a while,
Okay.
and so we do need to hold the meeting. If Jeremy can't be there because of something regarding the baby, then I will.
Can you call in?
Jeremy thought he.
Not right now.
Right, I understand, but he had plans to be back for that. What I'd like to have is another work session on the Mountain Green Peterson area plan. And those that, I'm looking, the three of us went over the guiding principles with the rest of the planning commission at the time, as well as the land use. So we're kind of a little bit ahead of you. We're kind of willing to kind of back up a little for review. I can have Judy maybe send out the link or the plans. And if you could be reviewing it for the next 3 weeks so that we can be prepared to do a work session and see if we can kind of finish it up to move on to a public meeting and a public hearing.
Can we hold that work session at 5 or 5:30 as opposed to during the
If you
regular
like,
meeting?
At the time, we didn't think there'd be another agenda items. If there's other agenda items, we can move it up early.
Yeah, there are several that have.
Okay, at the
they've-
time,
Yeah, they finished their submittal requirements and everything
Okay.
and passed review.
so yeah, we could have the earlier meeting.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, September 12th at 5 right now, that's
Yeah,
tentative.
we'll provide dinner for that.
Okay,
It's Thursday.
And
that's
Josh,
a Thursday.
What
The-
time is, sorry?
No, go ahead.
What time is the meeting on the 3rd?
Usually 4, I think, their work
Yeah.
sessions are at 4.
The work session starts at 4.
it does look like you can sign up for ULI. Is it the annual trends on October 22nd?
Yeah, I just checked today. There was no actual click.
It says it's at the Hyatt Regency in Salt Lake. It's all day, one day, and we can sign up. Register yourself, 2 or more.
Oh,
I'll send you-
can
I'll just
yeah,
send you the
send
link.
Judy the link
Or
because
send Judy
that
the link.
wasn't there today
Okay,
or
and it's
earlier.
early bird till September 20th.
Yep. Early bird means cheaper.
Yep.
Send it.
And this one will be closer to Salt Lake.
That's true.
Anything else for staff from the planning commission or questions? Okay, seeing that, ready to approve the minutes. If you've got, for those new, get your corrections into Judy, preferably before the meeting, if you catch any errors or whatever.
So should we abstain if we weren't there?
You don't need to, because you're just saying this, you're making this the official record of the meeting. You can if you wish, but it's,
Madam Chair, I move we approve the August 8th, 2024 Planning Commission minutes.
we have a motion by Member Bishop and a second by,
I'll second.
second by Member Little. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Question, I guess we don't have in ours, as a chair, I can just adjourn the meeting, correct? The discussion was at the county commission.
So there are policies and procedures, but that is specific to the county commission, and currently it requires a motion and a second.
Right, and I don't know
Um,
what our bylaws, I guess I'll have to research that. But, so for now, I'll take a motion to adjourn. I have a motion by Member McMillan and a second, second by Member Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.